When most people think of the Florida swamps, their minds fill with wild tales, stories of mysterious creatures lurking in the shadows, or legends that sound straight out of a Hollywood horror film. The Everglades, with its endless stretches of water and tangled forests, has always inspired a sense of awe and a touch of fear. But while these myths capture our imagination, the real story unfolding here is far more urgent and far more dangerous than any monster movie. The true threat facing the Everglades isn't a single beast hiding in the reeds. It's a crisis that's crept in quietly, almost unnoticed, but with devastating consequences. This is a battle not against fiction, but against a relentless, real-world invasion. There are no secret government experiments or genetically engineered super creatures here. Instead, the Everglades is under siege from dozens of non-native species, animals and plants that don't belong, but have found a way to thrive. Burmese pythons, green iguanas, feral hogs, and countless others have slipped into this ecosystem, each one slowly but surely changing the landscape. Every invader, no matter how small, takes a toll. They compete with native wildlife for food and space, disrupt ancient food chains, and unravel a delicate balance that's existed here for thousands of years. The Everglades is a living tapestry, and each new thread pulled by an invader weakens the whole. It's not just one monster we're up against, but an entire army, an onslaught of invaders, each carving out their own territory, pushing the Everglades closer and closer to ecological collapse. The scale of the problem is staggering, and the consequences ripple far beyond the swamp's borders. Scientists, rangers, and conservationists are fighting 100 battles at once. Every day they work to capture invasive animals, remove exotic plants, and restore what's been lost. But the fight is overwhelming, and the stakes couldn't be higher. This is a crisis more devastating than any single python or headline-grabbing creature. The true danger is a biological invasion of historic proportions, one that threatens to erase the unique beauty and diversity of the Everglades forever. The landscape is changing before our eyes, and the damage is often invisible until it's too late. To save Florida's wild heart, we must first understand the real crisis at hand. Only by facing the truth, by unraveling the real swamp story, can we hope to protect this irreplaceable wilderness for generations to come. The Burmese python is infamous, a symbol of the invasive species crisis gripping the Florida Everglades. These massive snakes, once exotic pets, now slither silently through the wetlands, growing to lengths of over 18 feet and preying on everything from rabbits to deer. But, while the python captures headlines and public imagination, it's just one face in a vast army of invaders that have taken hold in this fragile ecosystem. Across the Everglades, a hidden war is raging. Dozens of non-native species, some introduced accidentally, others released intentionally, are now thriving, each one competing with native wildlife for space, food, and survival. The python may be the most notorious, but it's far from alone. Wild boars, for example, are relentless. These powerful animals tear up the land with their tusks, uprooting native plants, destroying delicate habitats, and contaminating water sources with mud and waste. Their rooting behavior leaves behind scars that can take years to heal, making it even harder for native species to recover. In the water, armored catfish and tilapia are equally destructive. These fish outcompete native species for food and breeding grounds, disrupting the intricate food web that has evolved over millennia. Their presence can lead to the decline of native fish populations, which in turn affects birds, reptiles, and mammals that rely on them for food. On land, and in the water, the threats keep coming. Feral cats, descendants of abandoned pets, stalk the underbrush, preying on vulnerable birds and small mammals. Meanwhile, Asiatic clams multiply rapidly, clogging waterways and altering the flow of water, which is vital to the health of the Everglades. The Everglades is under siege from every direction: land, water, and even the trees. Invasive plants like melaleuca and Brazilian pepper crowd out native vegetation, changing the very landscape and making it harder for native species to survive. Each invasive species adds pressure to an already stressed environment, pushing the Everglades closer to ecological collapse. The delicate balance that once defined this unique wetland is now at risk, as invaders outnumber and outcompete the original inhabitants. The python gets the headlines, but it's the relentless combined assault from dozens of invaders, large and small, seen and unseen, that threatens Florida's wetlands most. The true danger lies in the cumulative impact, as each species chips away at the ecosystem's resilience. This is a crisis that demands a broader perspective. Scientists, conservationists, and local communities are working together, searching for solutions and new ways to protect what remains of this irreplaceable landscape. The fight is on every front, and the future of the Everglades depends on our ability to recognize the scale of the threat and to act before it's too late. Beyond pythons, a host of reptilian invaders is transforming South Florida. Argentine black and white Tagus and Nile monitors raid nests, devouring eggs of birds, alligators, and tortoises, threatening future generations. Green iguanas overrun neighborhoods, devouring native plants and undermining infrastructure with their burrows. Cuban night anoles compete with native lizards, shifting the balance in the trees. These reptiles reproduce quickly, adapt easily, and face few predators. Their spread disrupts food webs and puts native species at risk. The reptilian takeover is a critical, often overlooked part of Florida's crisis. It's not just size, adaptability and numbers matter most. The Everglades was once a sanctuary, a sprawling paradise where native animals thrived in a delicate balance. For centuries, this vast wetland was a haven for countless species, each playing a vital role in the intricate web of life. But today, that balance is under siege. Native animals now face threats from all sides, some natural, but many brought by human hands. The landscape that once promised safety has become a battleground where survival is never guaranteed. The Florida panther, already teetering on the brink of extinction, now finds its world shrinking even further. As invasive Burmese pythons and other non-native predators spread through the Everglades, they decimate the small mammals and birds that panthers rely on for food. Each day, the panther must search harder and travel farther to find enough to eat, while its young face new dangers at every turn. The struggle for survival grows more desperate with every passing season. Manatees, the gentle giants of Florida's waters, are no strangers to hardship. Long threatened by boat strikes and the loss of their warm water habitats, they now face a new wave of challenges. Invasive plants like water hyacinth choke the waterways, blocking sunlight and crowding out the native vegetation manatees depend on. Even the water itself is changing, as filter-feeding invaders alter the delicate chemistry of their aquatic home, making it harder for manatees to find food and refuge. Even the mighty alligator, once the undisputed apex predator of these wetlands, is no longer safe. Their nests, once hidden and protected, are now raided by invasive teaks and Nile monitor lizards, who feast on eggs and hatchlings. Young alligators, barely out of the nest, must also evade the ever-present threat of pythons, which see them as easy prey. The next generation of alligators faces a gauntlet of dangers never before seen in this ecosystem. With each new invader, the pressure mounts. Burmese pythons, Nile monitors, and countless other species compete with native wildlife for food and space, pushing the Everglades' original inhabitants to the brink. The struggle for survival becomes more intense, and the odds grow longer for those who have called this place home for millennia. The natural balance that once defined the Everglades is broken. Invasive plants and animals disrupt the cycles of life, and the consequences ripple outward, touching every corner of the ecosystem. Wetlands dry up, native plants wither, and the landscape itself begins to change in ways that may never be reversed. When top predators like the panther and alligator are threatened, the entire food web is thrown into chaos. Every species, from the smallest insect to the largest mammal, feels the impact. The loss of a single link can unravel the whole chain, putting the future of the Everglades at risk. What was once a paradise has become a battleground, where the fight for survival is constant and the outcome uncertain. Conservationists work tirelessly to turn the tide, but the challenges are immense and the clock is ticking. The stakes couldn't be higher. The fate of the Everglades, and all who depend on it, hangs in the balance. The Everglades is a World Heritage Site and home to dozens of threatened and endangered species. Birds like the wood stork and snail kite struggle as invasive fish and snails disrupt their food sources. The ancient small-toothed sawfish faces habitat loss and invasive species in its last strongholds. Every species lost unravels the ecosystem further. The Endangered Species Act provides a crucial defense, helping species like the alligator rebound. Today, it protects panthers, manatees, sea turtles, and more. Protecting these icons is a legal and moral imperative. Their survival is tied to the fate of the Everglades itself. How did these invaders arrive? The answer is almost always us. The pet trade is a major culprit. Exotic animals outgrow their owners and are released into the wild. Aquaculture escapes and accidental stowaways in cargo shipments add to the problem. Florida's warm climate is a perfect match for many of these species, allowing them to thrive. Without natural predators, populations explode. A single released pet or escaped fish can spark an ecological crisis. Human choices, intentional or not, have fueled this invasion. The consequences are long-lasting and hard to reverse. Prevention is key. Despite the crisis, hope remains. Scientists, rangers, and citizens are fighting back, removing invaders, restoring water flow, and educating the public. The comprehensive Everglades restoration plan aims to revive the ecosystem's lifeblood. Aggressive removal programs target pythons, tegus, and monitors. Pet amnesty days and public campaigns help prevent future releases. Every python caught, every acre restored, is a victory. The Everglades provides water, protects communities, and supports a vibrant economy. Its fate is in our hands. Continued commitment and innovation are essential. Together, we can preserve this wild wonder for generations.